Happy Wednesday. As you can tell, the background has changed significantly since I have been on last. And I am really excited that, yeah, I spent the weekend moving. I found out that the landlord at my previous apartment had cancer. And so he requested that everybody move out by February 1st. I'm kind of anxious to see if everyone else does. I'd been there for 17 years, just a little while. And partly because when I was younger, I was moving every 3 years. And after a while, you just kind of get tired of moving. So now I am here in this beautiful home. I have my own office in this house. I have a room that's just completely for work. And it's wonderful. I mean, look at this. This is just gorgeous. So I'm not quite done hanging pictures, and I've got to organize my kitchen and clean out my garage. But once that's all done, I will be completely settled in, and yeah, it's exciting, and it's challenging to try to do this in January when you're an accountant. Trying to get my hair to kind of lay right. It doesn't look right. I haven't had a haircut since October, so usually I get it trimmed every 6 weeks. Yeah, it's challenging to try to do all of this householdy stuff and do all of my accounting work all at the same time. Prior to this, I was, I would just kind of take care of chores every day, but that would take maybe an hour in a small 900 square foot apartment. And now I have about 3 times the space. And this is probably about 2,500 square feet, probably. The kids are kind of chuckling that they have to trek now to find me, to give me a kiss to go to bed. But it's awesome. I mean, this is absolutely awesome. I have a playroom downstairs for I have 2 nephews and a niece that are little here in Utah. And of course, I have a whole bunch of nieces and nephews from 30 down to 0. I don't know how young the youngest is. I think 1. Come from a large family. But this is absolutely wonderful. The best part of this really is that I can work and shut the door, and the kids know to leave me alone, and I don't have to worry about them coming in and out. And I'm still in my same neighborhood, which is awesome. I am actually next door to one of my closest friends, or at least the family that we're close to. She and her husband have been friends with me for 16 years. So it's really nice to have them so close and to be right next door. And it's really exciting to have people call me and say, "Is that you moving into the house? Oh, we're so glad it's you." And I hope they're not faking it too much. So that's been kind of my end of Christmas and into New Year's. I celebrated by moving. So yeah, it's a really wonderful thing. And I get to focus better because there's not so much demanding my attention every minute of the day. I can shut the door, and you don't realize how important that is until you don't have the option, or if you didn't have the option until you get it. So with tax season underway, we're just starting to ease into it. For those of you that don't know, usually most of January is spent communicating with the IRS about how to upload the electronic returns. Now, I do not currently prepare taxes. I may change that in the fall. I may change that by next tax season, but currently I'm not preparing taxes. I'm not prepared to do that. However, with that said, I do know a fair amount about tax law and about some of the things that you can write off and some of the things that you can't, and some of the common misconceptions that small business owners have about what they can write off in their business. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. Probably the most common thing I see, the biggest mistake that I see, is small business owners assuming that because they are concerned about their business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, everywhere they go, they're talking about this is particularly if they are consultants of some kind, energy workers, if they teach classes about energy work, it's really, really common here. Professional consultants who have done a lot of work to set up their business are probably less susceptible to this. MLM people this is a big problem they have. And I have a lot of, well, I've worked with a lot of MLM distributors that fall prey to this particular mentality. And then a lot of business owners, if they are basically the business, they really fall prey to this. That is the idea that because I'm a business owner and because I am the business, I get to write off everything. That doesn't, you can try. The IRS probably is not going to be okay with that. And in reality, I am not the final arbiter. I am not the tax deduction police. I am not your bookkeeping police, so to speak. However, I am going to tell you, if you're one of my clients, I'm going to sit you down and say, you can do that if you want. The law says this. I would not suggest it. One example that I've heard of is some friends of mine said that they traveled a lot for their business. They would go around and they would do seminars, and they said, well, if we buy clothes when we're out of town, then that's a tax write-off. And I said, no, it's not. There are specific things that the IRS says that you can write off when it comes to clothes. I cannot write off this outfit that I'm wearing right now because I can wear it anywhere. I might not. This is a little bit not really my style, but this is not a uniform. That's what it comes down to. When I had my very first job, I worked for McDonald's. It's my very first job at high school outside of the family. And I had to wear a uniform of the really ugly brown double knit polyester with the white collar. If I had to purchase that, that would have been a tax write-off because it was a uniform. I was required to wear it to work, and it wasn't appropriate anywhere else. This outfit, which is just a sweater, with a shirt underneath it, and jeans, is perfectly acceptable to wear in most places. It's just part of my wardrobe. So it is not a uniform, and I cannot deduct it. If, however, I were to go down to Logo It On or some similar company and have polo shirts with my business logo on them, then that becomes a uniform, and that's okay. And I can even sell them as part of my advertising and promotions. But most of the time, as I'm doing books, I do not include clothing as a business expense. I said there are some, there's some exceptions. If you work in the medical field and you have to wear scrubs, you can write those off if you're buying them for yourself. If you are in construction and you have to wear steel-toed boots, you can write those off. But for the most part, those of us that get to wear ordinary everyday clothes, we don't get to write off that expense. Believe me, if I could write this off, I would be spending a lot more on clothes. Another thing that I catch small business owners doing, again, larger business owners or larger businesses, like more corporations with more members involved, they have more checks and balances, so it's not such a problem. But smaller businesses, they will try to write off every single meal, and that is not always a possibility. I've even seen small business owners try to write off the groceries that they bring into their house. It would be lovely if I could write off my grocery bill, but I can't. Here's when I can. If I have a business partner or a prospective business partner, even if I have them and their family over and I buy specific food for a specific meal to kind of wine and dine him, to get him to sign on with me, I might be able to write off part of that. If I have a barbecue at my house for clients and their families, I could probably write off the food for that. But to say, well, I brought it into my house and I am the business and I think about business every minute of the day and I am consumed with business all the time, which I kind of am, I don't get to write off all of my meals. Okay, here's what I can write off. If I am more than 25, I think, miles away from my home, my place of business, and I need to get something to eat, I can write that off as a travel meal. I think it's 25 miles. It may be a little bit more. It's one of those things that shifts. If I am out, I have one client that I work on site, and I'm trying to start gently have them, let me work more remotely because I prefer to be here for a lot of reasons. One is just the quiet. But if I am out and I am running errands, I can probably write off half of those meals. I cannot write 100% of those meals off, but I should be able to write off 50% and be able to say that, yes, this is due to business. Mileage. Speaking of clients that have me work off-site, mileage. The mileage to and from my one client is not supposed to be deductible. However, on Mondays I go and pick up packets. To your first location is not deductible. From your last location to your home is not deductible, but everything else is. Okay, so do keep track of your mileage. Mileage reimbursement rates go up every year, and sometimes pretty dramatically. I think it's at 47 cents a mile now, and so that can be a huge, huge thing. You also, when you file your taxes, you're allowed to either claim actual expenses or mileage. Typically, the mileage is the better deduction to take. However, for the sake of knowing what your business is doing, for the sake of being aware of what you're actually spending, I also counsel my clients to track what it actually costs you to run your vehicles. For example, I think mine costs $400 a month to run my personal vehicle. I drive a Chevy Cruze. It's high gas mileage. It's just a very little car. I know exactly what my payment is. I know what my insurance is, and I know how much I spend on gas. And I can tell you probably $400 a month, maybe $420 is what I spent on my car. And I kind of get a deal on that because one of my clients, I've mentioned them many, many times, is an auto repair shop. And so I will typically have them change the oil while I'm at work, because it's just easier than trying to go, well, I'm at Edgemont Auto Service, but I'm going to go to Jiffy Lube. Doesn't really make sense to me. And I don't enjoy working on cars. It's not really my thing. I like keeping my hands clean. So I will just have them change the oil for me while I'm there. Now, because I am their bookkeeper, typically, very, very often, in fact, every time, the owner there will give me about half off on that, because he likes to take care of me, so I will take good care of their books. Let's see. Some of the other things that I do see people writing off on their taxes that they probably should not. Dry clean. It goes back to the clothing thing. If you are cleaning a uniform, and I do mean a uniform, not... I kind of have a uniform for work, this isn't it, and that is a nice blouse, usually a button-up blouse, skirt, hose, heels, and a jacket. That's kind of my uniform. However, I can wear that anywhere, and I don't look out of place. Anywhere that's more on the formal side, I can wear that. So cleaning my clothes is also probably not a business expense that you can write off on your taxes. You might want to keep track of it if you have clothing that you wear specifically to work. For example, if you're a banker and you specifically wear this shirt, this tie, these pants, these socks, these shoes, you might want to keep track of what it costs, but that does not necessarily mean that you can write it off on your taxes. I kind of use the IRS guidelines as a guideline of what really is a deductible expense. And what the IRS says is that if it is in the normal and ordinary cost of doing business, You can write it off for your business. Now I'll give you a kind of a different example. Boy, I look tired. A different example. If you are a model, an actress or actor, and you make your money from your looks, you can probably write off grooming. Okay, you're doing your hair, makeup, nails. That could be a write-off if that's your field. If you're a model, actor, actress, something along those lines, performer. However, the rest of us don't get to write that off. That is normal and ordinary costs of being a model or actor. It is not a normal or ordinary cost of being an accountant. A normal and an ordinary cost of running a bookkeeping business or an accounting business is computers, office supplies, paper, printers, office space, specific software, marketing and advertising. That would be, what would be the normal and ordinary cost of running a bookkeeping business. It may even be web development. It may be developing specific software for your business. It may be just, I don't like this overhead light. I'm going to have to change that. I have to get more lamps. It may be, the things that are very specific to your business. So as an accountant, auto tools are not part of the ordinary cost of running an accounting business. It is ordinary costs of running an auto mechanic shop. So as I talk about the ordinary costs, the common costs, ordinary, and I've said it like 5 times now, I forgot what the words. Cost of doing business, normal and ordinary cost of doing business. You have to remember that that's going to vary from business to business. If you are a salesman who sells high-end items, you might be able to write off the cost of wining and dining and spending a lot of money on prospects. But if you are not in sales, you probably can't do that. So keep that in mind. Again, this is just one of those things that people really tend to, they tend to conflate themselves with their business. They tend to think that because I'm thinking about business all the time and I'm talking to people about my business all the time and I'm concerned about my business all the time, then I can take that family trip to Disneyland and I can write that off as a business expense. I probably could, because if I went with specific people, okay, then I'd be able probably but not always, be able to write that off as a business expense. If I had incorporated, right now I'm an LLC, but if I incorporated and I needed to have an annual board meeting and I took my best friend and his kids to Disneyland for a board meeting, we could write off that trip once a year. But only once a year. And travel and entertainment and meals are the ones where most people get tripped up. Most of the rest of the things that people know of to spend money on their business really is business expense. It's the travel, meals, and entertainment. And yes, we all like to write off all of these things. I do too. But I do have to be very careful about it. And grooming. Grooming's the other big thing. I can certainly say that it is necessary for my business for me to appear well-groomed. However, that doesn't mean that having my hair done is going to be allowed as a business expense with the IRS. Excuse me. Since I don't make my money off of my appearance, the IRS will almost certainly come back and say, well, everybody expects to be well-groomed. It's not a business expense. So that's just some things to think about as you're preparing for taxes. I kind of just wanted to show off my new office, and this is really great. I actually even have space in front of my desk for people to come in and chat with me. So feel free to leave any comments below. I would love to hear from you. I'm anxious to find out what you're interested in hearing about as far as bookkeeping is concerned for the new year. And I am really anxious to be able to help small business. My mission is not to have the happiest bookkeeping clients in the world. That is a goal, but it's not my mission. My mission is to help small business people succeed in business by providing them the tools that they need to make proper business decisions. And another mission that I have is to connect small business owners with the people who can provide those services that they need. It may not be me. It may be that they need to talk to salesmen to get leads, that they need to talk to a business coach to find out what they're doing wrong. I help with the financial piece quite a bit, but I like to develop a network of people that I can refer people to, so that, as people talk to their bookkeeper, people talk to their accountant. It's just the way it is. And so when I have a client that says, oh, my sales are down and I don't know what to do, I want to have a long list of people that I can immediately say, this is the person you need to talk to for your business. And I am a very firm believer that in order for me to succeed, the best way for me to succeed is to help as many other people succeed as possible. So that's it for tonight. I'm so thankful to have you with me, and I'm so thankful to have you watching my video. So please feel free to comment below. I'm very interested in receiving your feedback. Unless it's about running my fingers through my hair, then you're just going to have to deal with it. And I will talk to you again soon.